He didn't even wait for me to finish chewing. Derek set his fork down like he was about to present quarterly earnings, not detonate our marriage. I got offered a job opportunity, he said. 2 years. Great pay. Overseas. The words landed wrong. Too practiced. Too smooth. Like he'd rehearsed them in the mirror while I folded his laundry. 2 years. I repeated, laughing once because surely this was a joke. My smile died when his didn't move. It's a career move, Nina. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Harder. As if my life was a suitcase he could zip shut. I stayed at the steam rising from my plate. The kitchen smelled like garlic and comfort and everything we were supposed to be. My hands trembled under the table. I wanted to ask, when did you apply? Why didn't you tell me? Where do I fit? But the way he leaned back, confident and already gone, told me the answer. You'll manage the house, he added, like he was assigning a task. It's not like you can't. My throat tightened. Taze pushed up. He watched them like proof of his authority. I nodded once, forcing the tears to fall, because I suddenly understood something. Derek didn't want a partner. He wanted a placeholder. Then he slid his phone across the table and said, I leave next week. That night, Derek moved through the bedroom like a man already living alone. He opened drawers, pulled out passports, checked his watch. I stood by the closet door, arms folded tight around myself, trying to stop shaking. You're really doing this? I said. He didn't look up. I already accepted. Accepted. Past tense, meaning I was the last to know. He tossed shirts into a suitcase and spoke in bullet points. Mortgage comes out on the 1st. Utilities are auto-pay. Don't touch my investment account. And don't, he paused like he was generous, don't stress me out with emotional stuff while I'm adjusting. Emotional stuff. My marriage. My life. I swallowed my anger so hard it burned. He kept packing. Calm. Efficient. Convinced my silence was consent. When he stepped into the bathroom, his phone buzzed on the bed. I wasn't a snooper. I'd never been. But the screen lit up bright enough to catch my eye. A message preview flashed. She'll be fine. She always is. No name. Just the sentence. My heart thudded once, heavy and cold. He came back out, saw me staring at the phone, and casually flipped it face down. What? He asked, irritated. Nothing, I said, and made my voice small. I turned away, went to the kitchen, and opened our filing drawer like I was just looking for coupons. But my fingers landed on a folder I hadn't touched in years. Financials. Inside, a statement showed a transfer I didn't recognize. Tens of thousands moved 2 days ago. I waited until he fell asleep. Derek snored softly, one arm thrown over my pillow like he owned the space even in his dreams. I slid out of bed and took the folder to the living room. Under the lamplight, numbers stared back at me like a language I should have learned sooner. There were transfers, small at first, then bigger, always from our joint account into an account labeled with his initials. An account I'd never been shown. My mouth went dry. I opened the laptop and logged into our bank portal. Derek had always said, I handle the finances. Babe, you handle the home. I used to think it was love, division of labor. Now it felt like a leash. The password saved in the browser worked. Of course it did. Derek believed I was too emotional to ever get technical. I clicked through account tabs and found it, an individual investment account in his name only, funded partly by money that came from our joint deposits. My stomach rolled. The next morning, I asked him casually, Hey, what's the account with your initials? Derek didn't even blink. It's nothing. It's tens of thousands. He exhaled like I was a child asking why the sky is blue. I moved money around for strategy. You wouldn't understand. I felt something crack inside me. Not my heart, my patience. I'm your wife, I whispered. He kissed my forehead like you soothe a pet. Exactly. Don't stress yourself. I went to the bathroom and cried silently, letting my face do what he expected. Then I washed my hands, looked at my reflection, and said under my breath, Okay. That evening, I found a document in the printer tray, bearing my signature on a form I'd never seen. The signature was mine. It had my loops, my slant, my habit of pressing too hard on the last letter. but I didn't remember signing anything like it. The paper was a financial authorization, permission to open a line of credit using household assets. The date was 6 months ago. I was at my mother's hospital bedside 6 months ago, living on vending machine coffee and fare. I walked into the kitchen holding the page like it might burn me. Derek was pouring himself water, calm as ever. "What is this?" I asked. He glanced once. "Oh, that. Just paperwork. You signed it." I didn't. Derek's eyes hardened for half a second, then softened into something I'd mistaken for kindness before. "Nina, you were stressed. You don't remember everything." Gaslighting. I felt it in my bones now, him trying to rewrite my reality until I doubted my own mind. I could have screamed. I could have demanded answers. But the look on his face told me any confrontation would end with him calling me unstable. So instead, I folded the paper slowly, put it down, and said, "Maybe you're right." His shoulders relaxed immediately, and that's when my strategy started. I became the wife he wanted. Sweet, supportive, grateful. I cooked his favorite meals. I asked about his flights. I said I'm proud of you even when it tasted like ash. He smiled more. He bragged more. He grew careless. At night, when he slept, I opened the laptop again. I copied statements. I downloaded documents. I took photos with my phone, saving them to a hidden folder. The next day, a notification popped up on my phone. New credit inquiry approved. Under my name. By the time Derek's flight day arrived, I had 2 versions of myself. The one he saw, mascara smudged, hands trembling, voice breaking. The good wife watching her husband chase his dreams. And the real one, a woman keeping receipts. At the airport curb, Derek hugged me like a man doing charity. "You'll be okay," he said. "Don't spiral." I made a small sound, the perfect wounded noise. He kissed my cheek, already turning away. Then he added, casually, "And don't touch the savings. I'll handle things from there." The savings. The account fed by my paycheck too. The account he spoke about like it belonged to him. I nodded. Tears fell right on schedule. He looked satisfied, like he'd successfully managed the situation. As soon as he disappeared through security, my tears stopped mid-drop. I wiped my face, breathed in, and felt a strange, clean emptiness, like the moment after a storm when the air clears. I drove home in silence. The house felt different without him, lighter, but haunted by all the ways I'd made myself small to keep peace. That night, I opened the laptop in the kitchen and logged into everything. Bank accounts, credit reports, bills, mortgage, insurance. What I found made me grip the counter. The credit inquiry approved wasn't small. It was a huge line, secured against our home. A home I'd been paying into since day one. My hands shook, not from fear, but from rage so pure it sharpened into focus. I pulled up the authorization form again, then noticed a witness signature I recognized. The witness signature belonged to Derek's cousin, Tasha, the same woman who always called me too nice at family cookouts, as if kindness was a defect. My stomach tightened. So it wasn't just Derek. He'd had help. I printed copies of everything. The authorization, the credit line approval, the account transfers. I organized them in a binder, labeled by date. It felt surreal, like I was building a case against my own marriage. Then I did something I'd never done before. I pulled my credit report. There were 2 accounts I didn't recognize. Both opened within the last year. Both carrying balances that made my chest go tight. I sat on the floor in front of the coffee table, papers spread around me like a crime scene. My hands went cold as I realized what this meant. Derek wasn't just planning a 2-year job. He was preparing an exit strategy that used my name. I called the bank the next morning, voice steady, pretending confusion. "I'm seeing accounts I don't recognize." The representative was polite, practiced. "Those accounts were opened with your authorization." "I'd like copies of the signed documents," I said softly. There was a pause. "Then, we can mail them." "I want them emailed," I said. "Today." When I hung up, my heart pounded, but my mind felt eerily clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. A plan. I took the binder and drove to a cafe across town where Derek's friends never went. I ordered tea I didn't drink and opened my laptop. Search after search. Marital property. Joint accounts. Financial abuse. Every line confirmed what I already knew. I wasn't crazy. I was late to the truth. As I left the cafe, my phone buzzed. Derek was calling, and behind his voice I heard a woman laugh. "Hey, babe," Derek said, too cheerful. "Just checking in." I stared at the sidewalk as people passed, normal and unaware of the war that had started in my chest. Behind him, faint but clear, a woman's laughter rose and faded like a secret he wasn't trying hard enough to hide. "Where are you?" I asked quietly. "Work housing. Orientation week. It's noisy." He rushed the explanation. "Listen, can you send me the login for the joint account? Mine's acting up." There it was, his first reach across the ocean. Still controlling. "I'll do it later," I said. A beat of silence. "Nina," I said later. My voice was calm, almost gentle. I could feel him recalibrating. He chuckled, like I was being cute. "Don't get weird on me. I'm stressed." I let the pause stretch. "Okay," I whispered. "Focus on your job." He exhaled, relieved. "That's my girl." My girl. Like I was a possession he'd stored safely at home. When we hung up, I didn't cry. I opened my notes app and typed. First boundary held. Then I did the second thing Derek never expected. I called a lawyer. The receptionist's tone was kind but brisk. "What are you looking for?" "Information," I said. "And protection." An hour later, I sat in a quiet office across from a woman with sharp eyes and a calmer voice than mine. She looked at my documents without reacting, like she'd seen this betrayal 1,000 times. "This is serious," she said. "But you have something most people don't." "What?" I asked. She tapped my binder. "A paper trail." I swallowed. "What do I do?" She leaned forward. "You stop reacting emotionally and you start moving strategically." She slid a legal pad toward me and wrote one word at the top. Timing. My lawyer, Ms. Bennett, didn't comfort me with cliches. She gave me a blueprint. "Your husband being abroad changes the playing field," she explained. "Service, response times, jurisdiction, it all matters. But you can't rush. Not if you want the outcome you deserve." Outcome. The word sounded like something that belonged to courtrooms, not marriages. But here I was. She asked practical questions. My income, the mortgage, the dates accounts were opened, whether Derek had a history of controlling money. I answered everything, surprised by how steady my voice was. I'd spent years trying not to upset him. Now I was speaking like my life depended on it. "Do you suspect infidelity?" she asked. The woman's laughter echoed in my memory. "I don't know." I lied first, then corrected myself. "Yes, I suspect it." "Document it," Ms. Bennett said, matter of fact. "And don't tip him off." I nodded. She pointed to the credit line. "This, using marital property and your identity, can work in your favor. But only if we play this right." I left her office with a folder of steps. Lock down my credit, request bank documents, avoid emotional confrontation, keep communication neutral, gather evidence. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and let one tear slide down. Not because I missed Derek. Because I mourned the version of myself who would have begged him to love her properly. I wiped my cheek and pulled out my phone. I opened our shared cloud account, one Derek had set up, assuming I'd never explore it. I searched for travel, housing, bonus, and there it was, a PDF titled Relocation Benefits with his signature. Inside, a housing stipend, an annual bonus, and a line that made my pulse spike. Family relocation optional. Optional, meaning he never planned to take me. A new email arrived moments later, confirmation of a hotel booking under Derek's name for 2 guests. The hotel confirmation sat in my inbox like a slap. 2 guests. 1 room. A weekend. His new city. I stared until my eyes burned. Then I did the hardest thing. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I didn't demand. I simply forwarded the email to myself, saved it, and took a screenshot. Because heartbreak makes you reckless. And I couldn't afford recklessness anymore. That night, Derek video called. His face filled my screen, well lit, fresh haircut, smiling like he'd just won something. "Hey," he said. "You look tired." I kept my expression soft. "Just busy." "Good," he replied. "Stay busy. It'll make time go faster." He said it like a favor, not like he'd abandoned me. I asked, "How's work?" He launched into a story about colleagues, opportunities, networking events. He didn't mention the hotel, of course. He didn't mention the laughter I'd heard. He didn't mention the way my life was collapsing quietly while he built a new one. Then he added, casually, "I might be traveling a lot. Don't freak out if you can't reach me sometimes." I nodded, careful. "Okay." His eyes narrowed slightly. "You're being unusually calm." I let a tiny smile lift my lips. "I'm trying to be supportive." He relaxed, pleased with himself. "That's what I need from you, Nina." Need. Not love. Not partnership. When the call ended, I sat in the dark and let the silence settle. I opened my binder, added a new section labeled Infidelity Evidence, and slid the hotel confirmation behind it. My hands stopped shaking. Because the truth was no longer something I feared. It was something I could use. At 2:13 a.m., a notification pinged. Derek's card was used at a jewelry store. The jewelry charge hit like a punch I didn't feel until seconds later. I stared at the banking app, a purchase far too expensive to be a gift for me, and made in a city Derek claimed was all work and stress. The timestamp was late. The amount was bold. My first instinct was to call him and scream, "Who is she?" But Miss Bennett's voice echoed in my mind. "Don't tip him off. Document it." So I took screenshots. Then I turned off notifications. The next morning, Derek texted, "Morning. Can you transfer $5,000 to my account? Exchange rates are annoying." My mouth curled into a tight smile. $5,000. Like asking for milk. I replied, "Of course. I'll handle it after my meeting." The lie was smooth. I had no meeting. I had a plan. I drove to the bank in person, binder in my tote like a weapon. The manager's office smelled like carpet cleaner and polite indifference. "I need to understand all accounts connected to my name," I said. The manager looked through the screen, then frowned. "There are additional products here." "Yes," I said quietly. "That I didn't authorize." He hesitated. "Your husband is listed as primary on some. But you are co-signer on." "I want copies. Today." His eyes flicked up. Something in my tone must have shifted because he stopped treating me like a confused wife and started treating me like a client with leverage. An hour later, I left with printed documents and a clear picture. Derek had been building a financial shadow life for a year. Accounts opened. Credit pulled. Money moved. All while telling me I didn't need to worry. Back home, I opened a new checking account, solely in my name. I didn't move money yet. I simply created the container. Control begins with infrastructure. That night, Derek called again. "Did you transfer the money?" "Not yet," I said gently. "Tomorrow." He sighed. "Try not to forget." I smiled into the phone. "I won't." After we hung up, an email arrived, bank documents containing a signature that wasn't mine. The forged signature sat at the bottom of a loan document like a confession. It was close enough to fool a clerk, but not close enough to fool me. The loops were wrong. The pressure inconsistent. Derek hadn't just controlled our finances, he'd impersonated me. My hands trembled as I filed it in the binder under fraud. Then I did something that felt like stepping off a cliff. I froze my credit. All 3 bureaus. No new accounts could be opened without my authorization. I didn't tell Derek. Instead, I became even softer. I texted him supportive messages. "Proud of you. Miss you. You're doing amazing." He ate it up. Over the next week, he grew bolder. He bragged about the big people he was meeting. He mentioned his bonus casually, like it wasn't the same money he'd always acted like I didn't deserve to touch. "Once my first bonus hits," he said on a call, "we'll be set." We. The word made me laugh internally. He said we only when talking about money. I kept my voice sweet. "That's great." He continued, unaware he was feeding me ammunition. "I'm thinking we should refinance when I'm back. Get a bigger place. Maybe rent this one out. Our house. My house too. The home I'd maintained while he built a new life abroad. I nodded, letting him talk. The more he talked, the more he revealed. After the call, I sent Miss Bennet the forged signature. Her reply was immediate. This is significant. Do not confront him. We'll use it. I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the wall, heart pounding. Significant meant power. I opened my new checking account and deposited a small amount, just enough to start. Then I created a second savings account labeled Freedom. Not because I planned to run. Because I planned to stand. The next day, Derek texted, I need your social security number. Human Resources lost my file. I read the text 3 times. Derek didn't need my social security number for Human Resources. He needed it to keep doing what he'd been doing, opening, moving, borrowing. He was reaching for control again, and for the first time, I felt the power of simply not handing it to him. I replied, I'll look for it later. Busy day. Seconds later, Nina. This is important. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, he called. Why are you being difficult? I kept my voice calm, almost tired. I'm not. I'm just busy. With what? He snapped. I paused. My life. Silence. Then he laughed. Sharp, disbelieving. Don't get dramatic. Dramatic. That was his favorite way to shrink me. I lowered my voice. I'll send it when I find it. He exhaled, satisfied again, and moved on. Also, don't forget the mortgage. And I need you to send the extra 5,000. I said tomorrow, I replied. His tone softened into manipulation. You know I'm doing this for us. I almost choked on the irony, but I kept the mask on. That night, I didn't send anything. Instead, I met Miss Bennet again. She reviewed the fraud documents, the credit line, the hotel booking, the jewelry purchase, the messages. She didn't flinch. You've been living inside a slow betrayal, she said quietly. I nodded. Here's the thing, she continued. People like Derek don't respond to emotion. They respond to consequences. I swallowed. What kind? She slid a document toward me. The kind you can file. My heart hammered as I looked at the top line. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The paper felt heavy. Final. Like a door I'd been afraid to open because I feared the dark inside. But the dark was already inside my home. This was me turning on the light. Miss Bennet tapped the calendar and said, We file soon, but first, we'll let him make one more mistake. Derek didn't panic because he loved me. He panicked because he felt me slipping out of his grip. It started with small things. I stopped answering every call immediately. I stopped over-explaining. I stopped apologizing for my feelings. He noticed. On a video call, he squinted at me like he was trying to read a label. You're acting different. I shrugged. Am I? Yes. His jaw tightened. You're not needy. I almost laughed. Needy. The word he used for my basic human desire for respect. Maybe I'm just adjusting, I said. He leaned closer to the camera. Are you seeing someone? There it was. Projection. Accusation. Control. I kept my face calm. No. Then why do you sound like you don't care? He demanded. I took a breath. I do care. I just don't want to stress you out, remember? I watched his eyes flicker. He recognized his own words, thrown back softly like a mirror. He didn't like the reflection. His voice dropped into a warning. Don't get smart, Nina. I let a tiny pause bloom. I'm tired, Derek. He softened again, switching tactics. I'm under pressure here. You're supposed to support me. Supposed to. Like I was a service he subscribed to. I am supporting you, I said gently. Good night. His face froze. Don't hang up on me. I did anyway. My hands were steady when I set the phone down. My stomach still hurt. But the hurt was different now, less helpless, more purposeful. I opened my binder and added his accusation to the record. Emotional manipulation. Control attempts. Threatening tone. Then I texted Miss Bennet, his starting to crack. She replied, Good. That means you're winning. Stay calm. I stared at that message and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. At midnight, Derek emailed me a spreadsheet titled House Rules While I'm Gone. The spreadsheet wasn't about love. It was about ownership. House rules while I'm gone. Columns for bills, due dates, approved spending, and a section labeled Requests Must Be Cleared with Derek. I read it twice. Then I closed the laptop and sat in silence, my jaw clenched so tight it ached. This is what he thought marriage was. Him in charge, me on standby. I forwarded the spreadsheet to Ms. Bennett. Her response was a single sentence. This helps us. The next day, I met her again. She didn't waste time. Here's the trigger, she said, pointing to the unauthorized credit line. If he's trying to leverage the house while abroad, we need to lock you in legally before he escalates. What does that look like? I asked. Filing, she said, and securing temporary orders. Temporary orders. Legal boundaries. Court-protected walls. My stomach turned. Filing made it real. Filing meant the fantasy of maybe he'll change officially died. Miss Bennett studied my face. Are you ready? I thought of the jewelry charge, the hotel booking, the forged signature, the way he dismissed my fear as emotional stuff. The spreadsheet. I exhaled slowly. Yes. She nodded. Then we prepare. But first, we verify one thing. What? She slid a document toward me. I want you to request your marriage records and property documents. Let's ensure nothing else has been altered. Altered. Like my life was a file he could edit when I wasn't looking. I went to the county office the next morning. The clerk handed me copies. I flipped through them in the parking lot, heart racing. At first, everything seemed normal. Then I saw a form I didn't recognize, filed months ago. A document listing a change in beneficiaries on a life insurance policy. His policy, and my name removed. As I drove home, Derek texted, I'm thinking I might extend my stay. The text felt like the final insult. Extend my stay. As if my life was a waiting room and he controlled the clock. I stared at the message until it blurred. Then I typed back, whatever you need. The lie slid out easily now. He needed to keep believing I was compliant. But my hands were shaking as I placed the phone down, because I knew what this meant. Derek had no intention of returning to fix anything. He wanted the benefits of a wife without the responsibilities of being a husband. That afternoon, the bank emailed the signed authorization documents I'd requested earlier. The forged signature wasn't the only issue. There was also a spousal consent form attached to the credit line, supposedly signed by me. It included a copy of my driver's license. A copy I hadn't given anyone. I felt cold all over. I called the bank. Where did you get that identification copy? The representative hesitated. It was uploaded through your joint online portal. My throat tightened. Derek had access. Derek had uploaded it. He'd been using my identity like a tool. That night, Derek called, sounding irritated. Why hasn't that transfer happened yet? I kept my tone mild. I've been sorting paperwork. What paperwork? I let a small laugh out. House stuff. He sighed, impatient. You're making this harder than it has to be. The same phrase from dinner. The same entitlement. The same assumption that I existed to make his life easier. I felt a strange calm wash over me, like my nervous system had finally accepted reality. I'll do it tomorrow, I said. He softened. That's my goal. When the call ended, I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Ms. Bennett. I'm ready. File. Then I stood in my kitchen, staring at the walls of the home I'd kept alive while he hollowed me out. And I whispered, You wanted control, Derek. You're about to see what control looks like. Ms. Bennett replied within minutes. We file in the morning. No more waiting. The courthouse smelled like old paper and stale coffee. I thought I would feel dramatic walking in, like I was performing a role. Instead, I felt quiet, solid, like a woman finally standing on her own spine. Ms. Bennett filed the petition while I sat on a bench holding my purse with both hands. My name on the forms looked strange beside words like dissolution and temporary orders and financial restraint. It was real now. After filing, we arranged service overseas, legal channels, official, unavoidable. Derek wouldn't be able to call me dramatic. A court doesn't care about his opinions. Now, Ms. Bennett said, You don't react. You stay steady. I nodded. Back home, I cooked dinner for myself. I watched a show I barely absorbed. My phone stayed face down. At 2:04 a.m., it lit up like a warning flare. Derek calling. Then again. And again. I let it ring. Finally, a text came through. What did you do? I waited. My hands were trembling, but I didn't answer. Another text. You can't do this. I took a slow breath and replied with one sentence. I already did. He called immediately. I answered on the third ring. Come. His voice was volcanic. Are you out of your mind? No, I said. I'm finally in it. You're trying to ruin me. I stayed at the ceiling, listening to the irony. You ruined us. I'm just finishing what you started. He laughed, sharp and cruel. You're nothing without me. I let the silence stretch, because that sentence, that was the last piece of evidence I needed, not for court, but for my heart. Then he hissed, You think you're safe? I can still take everything. Derek's threats didn't scare me the way they once would have, because now I knew the truth. Men like him threaten when they are losing. I can still take everything, he repeated, voice low. I replied evenly, That sounds like something you'd do. Silence. Then rage. Don't talk to me like I'm your enemy. You made yourself my enemy, I said, and surprised myself with how calm it sounded. He tried a new angle. Nina, listen. You're emotional right now. You're reacting to stress. We can fix this. Fix? As if this was a broken appliance, not a decade of disrespect. I'm not emotional, I said quietly. I'm informed. His breathing changed. Faster. Sharper. Who's feeding you this? A friend. Your bitter co-workers. My bank statements, I answered. He froze. I could feel his mind racing. You went through my stuff, he snapped. Our stuff, I corrected. The accounts opened under my name. The credit line against our house. The forged signatures. He stuttered. Just once. Those are misunderstandings. A misunderstanding is forgetting milk, I said. This is fraud. He exploded. You ungrateful. After everything I've done. What you've done? I cut in, voice still controlled. You left. You lied. You moved money. You removed me as beneficiary. You booked hotels for two. You bought jewelry for someone else. His breath caught. How do you know that? I didn't answer. His tone changed instantly. Syrupy. Nina, baby. You're hurting. I get it. Let's talk when I'm back. When are you back? I asked. He hesitated. That hesitation was a confession louder than any words. You're not coming back, I said softly. He snapped again. Of course I am. But he sounded like a man trying to convince himself. I ended the call without saying goodbye. And for the first time in years, I slept like I wasn't waiting for permission to breathe. The next morning, Miss Bennett called. He's trying to access the accounts. It's time. Miss Bennett's voice was crisp. Your husband attempted a transfer from the joint account overnight. The bank flagged it because of the filing. He's panicking. I sat at my kitchen table, sunlight spilling across the wood like a new beginning. What do? We hold the line, she said. And we file for temporary orders today. Financial restraint, exclusive use of the home, and documentation of fraud. Fraud. The word made my stomach twist, because no matter how deserved, it still hurt that my marriage had become a legal case file. I went to her office and signed paperwork. My hand was steady. My heart was not. On the way home, Derek called. I didn't answer. He texted, Please, just talk to me. I replied, We can communicate through counsel. He responded instantly, You think you're smart now. I stayed at the screen and felt something settle in my chest, like a final door closing. That evening, I sat on my couch and recorded a voice memo for myself. A confession. Not for him, for me. I stayed quiet because I thought love meant patience. I whispered into my phone. But love doesn't require erasing yourself. Derek didn't underestimate me by accident. He did it on purpose, because it benefited him. My eyes filled, but the tears weren't helpless anymore. They were release. I remembered every time he called me too sensitive. Every time he insisted I didn't need access to finances. Every time he turned my concerns into jokes. I stopped recording and deleted nothing. I saved it, labeled truth. Because that was what I was collecting now. Truth in forms he couldn't manipulate. Receipts, emails, documents, my own voice. And I was done being edited. Late that night, a new message arrived from an unknown number. He lied to you. I can prove it. The unknown number sent a screenshot before I could even reply. A photo of Derek, shirt open at the collar, standing beside a woman in a hotel mirror selfie. Her face was half hidden, but her hand was on his chest. The timestamp matched the weekend booking. My pulse roared in my ears. Then another message. I didn't know he was married. He told me you were his ex. I stayed at the screen, numb. Then a third. He said you were unstable. Unstable. Of course he did. That was the story men like Derek tell so they can behave like monsters and still feel like heroes. I typed back one sentence. Thank you. Please email this to me. She did, along with flight receipts, messages, and something that made my stomach flip. A voice note from Derek saying, once I finish this contract, I'm free. Free. Not from Wyke. From me. I forwarded everything to Ms. Bennett. Her response came fast. This strengthens your case significantly. Keep it. Do not engage emotionally. But even as I read that, Derek called again, over and over. Finally, I answered. His voice sounded frantic, breathless. What did you do to the accounts? I protected myself, I said. You froze things, he snapped. I can't access my funds. Your funds? I repeated, voice steady. Or the funds you moved under my name. He went quiet. Then he tried charm. Nina, come on. We can handle this privately. Don't embarrass me. Embarrass him. Not hurt me. Not betray me. Embarrass him. You embarrassed yourself, I said softly. He hissed. You think you're winning? I will come back and what? I asked. He didn't answer. Because threats don't work when the target stops flinching. I ended the call. And for the first time, I felt the shift. Derek wasn't controlling the story anymore. I was. Ms. Bennett called again. The court granted the temporary financial restraint. He can't move a dollar. The order felt like a locked door finally bolted from my side. Ms. Bennett explained it carefully. Derek couldn't liquidate assets, couldn't open new credit in my name, couldn't drain the joint accounts without consequences. Everything was traceable now. Every move he made would leave fingerprints. When Derek found out, his tone changed from rage to pleading within hours. He called and said, Nina, please. You're making me look like a criminal. You acted like one, I replied. I didn't mean. He stopped. Tried again. You know how pressure makes people do things. Pressure. Like he was the victim. I thought of the forged signature. The beneficiary change. The house rules. The way he'd erased me from his plans. You had choices, I said. You chose yourself every time. He went silent. Then, softly, we can start over. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. Now that consequences were real, he suddenly remembered partnership. Start over with who? I asked quietly. The wife you abandoned? Or the wife you underestimated? He snapped. You're enjoying this. No, I said. I'm surviving it. He tried again, voice low. If you drop this, I'll put your name back on the policy. I'll make things right. Make things right, like he could reverse time with a promise. I don't want your pity, I said. I want my life back. You'll regret this, he muttered. I inhaled slowly. I already regretted staying too long. When we hung up, my hands shook slightly, but it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline, the aftershock of finally speaking. I looked around my home. The same walls, the same couch, but the air felt different. Like a woman lived here now, not a placeholder. That evening, I received a notification. Derek's job had placed him on administrative review. I didn't celebrate Derek's job review. I didn't dance. I didn't gloat. I just sat on my porch with a glass of water and stared at the sky until my breathing slowed. Because even poetic justice can feel heavy when it's built from your own pain. Derek called after midnight. His voice wasn't angry anymore. It was small. "They're investigating me," he whispered. "Someone reported me." I knew who. The woman. The evidence. The paper trail. Reality catching up. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, voice flat. "I need you to tell them I'm not like that," he said. "That I'm a good man." The audacity hit me so hard I almost laughed. "You want me," I said slowly, "to rescue your reputation after you used my identity and erased me from your life." He sounded desperate. "Nina, please. I'm scared." I should have felt satisfied. But I felt something else. Clarity. "I was scared too," I said softly, "when I realized you didn't care what happened to me." He sniffed. "I cared." "No," I replied. "You cared about control." Silence. Thick and ugly. Then he tried the last card. "I love you." I closed my eyes. The words were familiar, but hollow. Like a key that no longer fit the lock. "If you loved me," I said, "you wouldn't have needed me to be small for you to feel big." He whispered, "So that's it? You're really doing this?" I exhaled slowly. "Yes." And this time, I didn't wait for his response. I ended the call first. I sat in the quiet afterward, feeling my heart ache, not for him, but for the years I'd spent begging for basic respect. Then my phone buzzed again, a new voicemail. I didn't open it. Not because I was scared. Because I was done. The next morning, Ms. Bennett emailed. "Settlement offer received." It's insulting. The settlement offer was one page of disrespect. Derek wanted the house. He wanted the majority of savings. He wanted me to waive claims to accounts he'd funded with marital money. In exchange, he offered a small payout like he was tipping me for my years of service. Ms. Bennett didn't even pretend neutrality. "He's testing you." "Let him," I said. We counted. Strong. Fair. But firm. And backed by evidence. Fraud. Infidelity proof. Financial manipulation. Unauthorized debt. Days passed. Derek's tone shifted again. Anger. Pleading. Bargaining. Blame. I didn't respond directly. Everything went through counsel. It felt strange at first, like I was being cold. But then I realized I wasn't cold. I was protected. In the space where Derek's chaos used to live, I built routines. I started therapy. I went on morning walks. I cooked meals that weren't tailored to someone else's preferences. I redecorated the bedroom. Not dramatically, just enough to remove him from the air. New sheets. A different lamp. A small plant by the window like a quiet declaration that something alive belonged to me now. Friends started noticing. "You look different," they said. I didn't tell them everything. I just smiled and said, "I'm taking control." At night, I journaled the truth, not just what Derek did, but what I allowed because I thought love meant enduring. It didn't. Love is reciprocal. Respect is non-negotiable. Derek emailed me directly once, bypassing counsel, begging to talk like adults. I forwarded it to Ms. Bennett and blocked him again. I used to think blocking was petty. Now I knew it was boundary in digital form. A week later, Ms. Bennett called. He's coming back to the country and he's furious. Derek's return didn't scare me. Not the way it once would have. Because he wasn't returning to a wife he could intimidate. He was returning to paperwork, court orders, and a woman who had already chosen herself. Still, when I heard he was back stateside, my stomach tightened. Old habits. Old fear. Ms. Bennett reassured me. He cannot show up and take anything. The temporary orders stand. If he violates them, we document and escalate. Document. That word had become my armor. Derek tried anyway, showing up at the house while I was out. The neighbor called me. "A man is banging on your door." I drove home slowly, not rushing into his storm. When I arrived, Derek was on my porch, jaw clenched, eyes wild like he'd been wronged. He stepped toward me. "You think you can lock me out of my own home?" "Our home," I corrected, voice steady. "And yes, I can." He laughed. Bitter. "You're acting like a stranger." "No," I said. I'm acting like someone who finally read the fine print. He moved closer. You're enjoying humiliating me. I held up my phone. Smile, I said, calm. You're being recorded. He froze. For the first time, he looked uncertain, like he realized I wasn't playing anymore. I stepped back, keeping distance. Leave. He hissed. You'll regret this. I tilted my head. You're the one under investigation. You're the one with fraud documents. You're the one who lied to 2 women at once. His face twitched. Leave, I repeated. He stepped off the porch slowly, like a man realizing power is not something you can demand back once you've lost it. As he drove away, my phone buzzed. Ms. Bennett, his agreed to mediation. His breaking. Mediation felt like sitting across from a stranger wearing my husband's face. Derek looked thinner, tired, less polished. His confidence had cracks now, hairline fractures running through his posture. He didn't meet my eyes at first. The mediator spoke calmly, guiding conversation like steering a boat through rough water. Ms. Bennett laid out our evidence in clean, unemotional language. Bank records, forged signatures, credit line, beneficiary change, proof of infidelity, the hotel receipts, the jewelry charge. Derek flinched at certain pages, like paper could bruise him. When it was his turn to speak, he tried to paint himself as stressed, misguided, pressured. The mediator listened politely, then asked, Did you have your wife's consent to open these accounts and move these funds? Derek's mouth opened, then shut. No, he admitted, barely audible. My chest tightened, not with victory, but with grief. Hearing it aloud made it final. The mediator looked at me. What do you want, Nina? I didn't answer with anger. I answered with clarity. I want what's fair, I said. And I want to be free. Derek finally looked up at me, eyes shiny. You really don't love me anymore. I held his gaze calmly. Love doesn't survive dishonesty. After hours of negotiation, the terms shifted. The house stayed with me. The debts in my name, those he created, became part of his responsibility. Assets were divided fairly. My security was prioritized. When we left, Derek stood in the hallway like he wanted to say something dramatic. I walked past him without stopping. Because closure isn't a speech. It's a decision. That night, I received the final draft of the agreement, one signature away from ending everything. I signed on a Saturday morning with sunlight pouring across my kitchen table, the same table where Derek announced his job opportunity like he was doing me a favor. My pen moved slowly, deliberate, not rushed, not shaking. One signature, and the chapter of my life where I begged for basic respect was officially over. Ms. Bennett called an hour later. It's filed. It's done. I sat back, breath leaving my body like I'd been holding it for years. I expected fireworks, dramatic relief, tears. Instead, I felt something quieter and deeper, peace that didn't need applause. Derek texted once afterward, I hope you're happy. I stayed at it for a long moment. In the past, I would have explained myself. I would have softened the blow. I would have tried to manage his feelings like they were my responsibility. This time, I deleted the message. Then I walked through my home, and noticed details I hadn't appreciated before. The way the light hits the hallway, the hum of the fridge, the simple safety of a space that no longer felt like a trap. I made coffee and drank it slowly, savoring the fact that no one could tell me I was too emotional for wanting control over my own life. Because the truth is this. I didn't take control to hurt him. I took control because he taught me, painfully, what happens when you give your power away. And I will never hand it back.